Pretty sure that's how a combustion engine works. Unless it's got glow plugs, and then I have no idea how that diesel works.
Fair warning, not a mechanic.
Yeah, we left our mechanic at home on this fair Tuesday night.
That's right, John's at home.
John's at home, but John Wilkes Boothing is right here on a Tuesday, and we have serious topics to discuss, and that's why I dressed up in a funny costume.
Yeah. Whee. He's representing us from from what you do in the dark.
I am supposed to be a vampire, although I kind of got the steampunk hat going on, if you can see it. But oh right, can you pop on so that you can see the comments? Otherwise they disappear. But welcome and salutations. This is the leftovers. This is all the stuff we forgot to talk about yesterday, and there has been quite a bit of stuff in the news. So the two main things, if you saw the title, that we're going to talk about today is the Middle East. Are we going to be spiraling into a World War III scenario, or is just another garden variety run-of-the-mill run-of-the-mill conflict? The other thing that we wanted to follow up on was our EV talk yesterday. I came across quite the interesting project from Toyota that they're looking to do an ammonia vehicle. So those are the two things on the docket. I, as always, am Philip McGrevis, and we're joined by Hot Dog Butter, Hot Dog Water, Butterscotch, Wilson.
Yeah. It's a great line of names there.
It's like royalty, where you just get like bigger and bigger lines of accolades.
Yeah, they're important because they have more names in their name.
Of course, yeah. Just like those dictators in Zimbabwe, they have their crier that comes in and announces like their 40 names.
Oh.
Which would be kind of cool, but
I wish my name had a click in it sometimes.
The only cool thing I can say about my name is I actually am technically a master, and not just in my own domain.
Okay. Do you have a bedroom?
Not a master bedroom. Oh. Yeah, most of the time I have damp underground sleeping quarters, but then sometimes if I go on a weekend retreat, I can find myself sleeping in a 4-person shared room bunk bed scenario, or on the living room floor.
Well,
there we go. That's my whole sleeping situation.
I have a bed sometimes. Sometimes I sleep in it, head facing the headboard. Sometimes it's not.
Oh, is that good feng shui?
Yeah, I just like to change it up. Sometimes I feel like I can't fall asleep. Like sometimes it takes too long. Normally laying in my bed,
yeah.
I flip around and I fall asleep in 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, that works out.
Because you have your chakra aligned to be pointing east towards Mecca.
I think I think I do lie facing the east normally, and then I'll flip and face the west.
But that does lead us into our first topic of the day, which is the chaos that's ensuing in the Middle East. So have you been catching up with this on the regular news media?
To be honest, I watched some of the news today. It's terrible. They bombed a hospital and a school. Some girl was crying about it, saying, we just want to go to school and the hospital.
That's sad, but national news media will always find the maximum pain point to show to people all over the world.
Honestly, to show you how grave the situation is, I think you got to show the pain point. Especially if it's war. You can't really show children playing in the streets because then there'll be bombs on them.
Well, that's because I feel like there's two different types of people in the world. And there's a lot of different ways you can break it down, but for me it's the logical people and the emotional people.
Yeah.
And we live in a society where we have a very high prevalence of emotional-driven decisions, so
especially
they're just going to pull on the emotional strings.
It's one of the things I gotta say. I feel like from taking in news from like television and comparing it to like radio or even podcasting, podcasting and radio tend to be more information because they can't visually paint a picture of like how bad it is. They can only give you numbers and death tolls, or they can give you interviews. Right. Where with the news media, they can provoke way more emotion and relative grief from an experience by showing how bad it is visually.
Well, yeah, I heard a quote that one death is a crisis, a million deaths is a statistic.
One death's a crisis, a million's a statistic.
Because people can't comprehend
a million people
the gravity of the situation. Which is why I think it's so important to get some context.
Do you remember when Ebola first broke out and they were showing all those mass graves, though?
John said we got some static.
No.
All right, let me try to twist it.
All right. Oh, wow, this is so delayed. I'm trying to...
All right, we're trying to fix the static situation. I twisted it as best as I could, and I wove my my cape over it. Still staticky?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna try something drastic here. I'm gonna unplug and replug. Okay, attempt numero duso on the static free zone. Hopefully
No, it's back.
It's back. It's back in action. All right, I'll try unplugging and replugging over here.
It's like he can hear us, but the static is annoying. Sorry, I didn't text you back. Hear us, but not distracted.
There we go. Attempt numero duso. Attempt numero treso.
Static, so we can't do much about it right now, John. You're just gonna have to bear with us, buddy.
Okay, I'm gonna turn this off over here and turn it back on.
We can't do much about it.
All right, how about that? Is that working at all? Are we muted or are we here? All right, how about that? Hello, hello, hello. Okay, I guess we just gotta talk louder.
That's fair. All right. So you were saying. Earlier.
What I was saying earlier was I do not remember. But yeah, one death is a tragedy, a million deaths is a statistic.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important for these things to provide us with context.
Yeah.
So that we know what's going on, because it's not just this one little conflict that's going on. It's more of a regional conflict where like actually all the countries around are getting involved as well, which I didn't know until I watched a nice video by Caspian Report.
Okay.
Which they basically do like a lot of reports about that area of the world where it's they're trying to give some Westerners some little bit of context of what's going on because we don't really know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what John said, or Nick said too, John.
Yep. So it's that's why it's really important to like get that context, because we want to have it more than just a statistic. Like some big things happening we can't wrap our brains around, so we want to get more information. Like for example, the conflict that's going on right now isn't just because they don't like each other, because either sides, the Israelis and the Palestinians, they have been against each other for thousands of years, I would say. Back even in the Roman times and before that, so it's like a deep-rooted history. They'll always be at odds. But the thing that kind of set it off this time is that there was peace negotiations between Israel and Saudi Arabia, of all places, and hence
turned it off. He's like, turn off your volume. I got it. My bad.
Huh? Yep. Anyway, so the localized conflict kind of expands because. Basically, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So we got Iraq way over here, and they're thinking like, what if Israel and Saudi Arabia become friends? That would be bad, because that would be full court press against us.
Iraq or Iran?
I'm sorry, you're right, Iran.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
What I was saying earlier. Yep. So Iran is really not wanting a peace broker between Israel and Saudi Arabia, and it's like, well, who cares about any of that? Like, why does that matter at all? Because then Iran was sponsoring the attacks that are happening now in the Gaza Strip and in the West Bank.
Yeah.
I think mostly focused towards the Gaza Strip right now. And there's like a ton of complexity to it, and it's like way too much for me to possibly comprehend in one fall swoop. But it just like kind of goes to show you, like, you don't know the full story until you like look at like the big history, like which countries or which power players and who likes who and who's like going against who and all that stuff. So, were you seeing some of that on your end as well?
Just the attack on the hospital recently. I haven't been following it as much. There's so many wars to pay attention to now, and I'm like, I need to be in the right headspace before I start reading that kind of news, and I don't feel like I am at this particular point in time.
Right. Well, that's one of the reasons why I guess I would say I avoid the conventional news, because it is also emotional. And
I think the last thing I heard about was the kidnapping, where they have like hundreds of people they have kidnapped that they're ransoming them.
Oh yeah. That's a bad look. If you want the international community to be on your side, you probably shouldn't kidnap civilians.
Yeah. But it's weird, too, because they only picked people that were Israelis. They're basically leaving other people alone, like visiting and stuff, but even at times they were, like, if you were Israeli, they'd kidnap you in that area, and then they'll hold you hostage. That's just... It's terrible. What do you want? I wouldn't want anybody I know kidnapped, I think. Give me some time. I think I can think of one, but...
Oh, no, obviously not. No, we don't want anybody kidnapped.
I mean, kidnapped or kidnapped and tortured.
Right. I mean, like, it's all bad, but, like, my point is, like, throughout history, I find often over and over again that the good guys aren't as good as you think and the bad guys aren't as bad as you think.
Yeah.
So in this instance, the bad guys are being pretty bad right now, so I can't really kind of give them any kudos or any, like, silver lining. Mm-hmm. But, like, the good guys in this aspect, the Zionists and the Israelis, they have been taking over more and more Palestinian land over time.
Okay.
And actually, if this source is to be believed, they were getting the Israelis and their three most powerful government officials were looking to do a full takeover of the West Bank.
Okay.
So the Palestinians would be left with nothing, and they might have to. Well, I guess the entire idea was that they were going to exile 3 million Palestinians from the West Bank and mostly make them refugees in Georgia, which I'm not sorry, Georgia.
Yemen? No.
Syria, Jordan. There'd be 3 million refugees in Jordan, not Georgia, Jordan. And that would just wreak total havoc on that entire country. So it's like, it's easy to be pro-Israeli when you see like the what's happening on the ground, the terrible things that that Hamas is doing.
All the missing people posters.
Exactly. But then like you don't realize that the history of it, that the Israelis have been settling in Palestinian lands and taking over their lands, and they're trying to force them out completely and basically make it so Israel would have the entire area and Palestine would have nothing.
Yeah.
So, who am I to judge what's good or what's bad? But it seems like there's like a push and a pushback in that instance. Now, it was any individual act right? I wouldn't be able to tell you that, but I will be able to tell you like what my heart says, which is don't frickin' kidnap people.
The other problem too is I feel like they should have become a unified state a long time ago, and they could never settle their differences to do that. Mm-hmm. And there's only limited land, so much land out there for people to move into and occupy.
Yeah.
Like, if you want your people and your country to grow, they have to have places to live. And there's available places in Palestine. That's what you're saying, right?
Pretty much, yeah. That's what it seems like. The Israelis are like, hey, there's land over here. Let's go to Palestine.
Yeah, so...
West Bank, rather.
So it almost seems like an undercover op that they swooped in, or they were using the idea that they already got all this land. Why can't we just have the rest of it?
It's kind of like the Israelis are like pushing the Palestinians back again and again. Like they're pushing them back. And then like they swing back like, oh man, you swung on us.
But it also shows you then if Israel must be prospering way more than the Palestinians are then. If more of their people are able to buy land outside their country.
That I don't know. Because Israel is like the very famous Jewish state there, and they're surrounded by like many Muslim states.
Okay.
So that kind of makes me wonder, like with these West Bank Palestinians, like I know there's differences that I don't understand, but you would think that there could be some opportunity for them to move to a different Muslim state with similar ideologies.
Yeah.
Whereas Israel is like literally the only one around, if I'm understanding correctly, that has like the the Jewish ideologies. Although they both believe it's the Holy Land, and that's why they're not wanting to give it up.
Yeah.
I mean the Dome of the Rock is there, the temple, the west Wall.
I wonder if Holy Land just means shot with holes.
Swiss cheese.
Because there's a lot of blood in that land, then. And not just now, but like for decades decades.
Thousands of years.
Yeah, thousands of years.
Yep.
Holy Land just means very nutrient rich because of all the blood that's been poured on the ground.
Right. I mean, like if you want to start at a exclamation point, I mean, the Crusades in the Middle Ages. I mean, they came around and there's millions of lives lost.
Yeah.
And that might be an exaggeration, but it seems like from my research, there's like the death toll kept on piling up. I don't have the real statistics in front of me. But everybody thinks the Crusades is one of the darkest times in Roman Catholic history, But I learned of a caveat on that one recently as well, that the Crusades, they were going to take back the Holy Land from the Muslims, but there's also a big disruption in trade routes, and it was like messing with people's like way of life there. So not that it's ever justified to go out on a crusade to kill people, but I could kind of rationalize and see why they would want to do it. To take back the ports for the Mediterranean and bring back the prosperity of trading with Europe.
All right, let's go to the comments real quick.
Let's see what we got in the comments.
John said, I pissed red, white, and blue. My doctor said it's cancer. I told him to shut his commie mouth. Thanks, John. That's a great one.
All right. Yep.
Stephanie says she loves your outfit.
Oh, thank you. I got a cape. Whee! Trying to win this costume contest. The prize is pride.
There you go. Vampire pride.
Vampire pride. I got like a little sparkling jewel here that I'm hiding with my beard. And, the cape. It's always fun to wear a cape. Unless you're some sort of professional, then you probably can't.
I feel like magicians probably get sick of capes.
Wasn't that like
Although I haven't seen a magician wear a cape in a long time now.
Kind of old hat?
Yeah. You ever see Penn and Teller? Nobody wears a cape on that.
The modern magician.
Didn't I thought Houdini wore a cape at one point.
Okay, wasn't there that bit about the cape in the movie Incredibles?
Yep, where it's just something to get caught in something else.
Yeah, the cape gets...
capes are stupid.
It gets caught in the jet engine
No
and sucks
capes.
it in. Yeah, I never thought I'd wear a cape, but I basically just went to the costume store. I was like, this one.
One of the reoccurring themes in that movie, too, about capes is there's moments where you see him swimming close to propellers and moving around turbines and shit, where he's close to getting sucked into it, but he manages to get out. And they're implying that if he had a cape on and he did that, he would have died right then and there.
Oh, man, that's subtle. I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah.
That's very cool. But anyway, yeah, John, I think you might be a little confused because the U.S. and the commies aren't really involved in the MidEast that much. The U.S. typically does back up Israel.
He said, fuck Superman and his cape, Goku all the way. Yeah, Goku doesn't need a cape either.
Okay, Goku with the no cape.
But his son wore a cape, dude, so suck it.
Oh, dropping some deep Dragon Ball Z knowledge bombs over here. Thought Jasanda knew it all, but he doesn't know everything.
Alright, just waiting for his angry comment. Want to move to EVs now?
Yeah, I guess we could pop on over to EVs because just like the Middle East, we're not going to solve this discussion now or probably anytime in the next 1,000 years. So
nope.
Might as well hop over to ammonia.
Ammonia as a fuel source.
Oh yeah, and H3.
Well, they're thinking about too. So instead of using hydrogen from water, they're going to use hydrogen from ammonia, a more toxic chemical than water. Now, like I said before, I'm not sure that this will be better than just using water and making like a hydrogen cell out of that, unless they're saying to directly like you fill it with ammonia and then it separates it in the process from ammonia to nitrogen and hydrogen.
I thought they said they were burning the whole thing.
I didn't think they could. Well, I was watching a video briefly. It just showed using hydrogen. Now, I imagine because ammonia is one of those things that we used it early on for refrigeration, that maybe you can use some kind of condenser and use some kind of refrigeration idea to make a turbo. But like they still have to burn something to expand an engine because an engine is based on combustion, right? Otherwise, it's a motor.
Well, they could do internal combustion or external combustion.
But then they still need hydrogen, so why not just use water? I don't get it. I don't...
Because it's very hard to split water into its requisite components.
Yeah, so unless if ammonia takes less energy, is less energy intensive to produce hydrogen, then you can do it. But it's also not as available as water.
Well, because water, okay, if you want to burn it to separate it into its requisite molecules, you have to burn like super hot, like 1,000 degrees or something like that.
Well, no, water, you have to put electricity through it.
Yeah, was it electrolysis?
Yeah.
Well, you have to send it through a membrane. And that membrane is the one that's like really...
No, you just... So what you do is you have two terminals.
Yeah.
And you... One positive, the other one becomes a negative pole. And it exchanges electrons through the water, and then hydrogen accumulates around those electrons. The hydrogen and oxygen. And then then you separate out the hydrogen and oxygen. typically because oxygen binds to itself.
And
it
that's
gets
the one
released
that
out.
you have to introduce electricity to the situation.
Yeah. So that's a standard way of producing hydrogen from water, which is.
And it's energy intensive?
I don't think it's that bad. It would be nice to know what the difference is between doing that with ammonia and doing it with water.
Well, yeah, because if you're putting electricity in, you want to get electricity out.
Well, no, you want to get energy out.
Okay, so you put electricity in, and you want to get expansion, usable work.
Well, you want to use hydrogen, and then eventually we reuse that as the energy system for the engine.
Okay,
right?
I know what you're talking about. So
Yeah.
basically, you would do this electrolysis off-site.
Yes,
So
and
like,
then
you'd
you
have like a big
contain
power
the
plant to do that.
hydrogens.
And then you'd like isolate the
atoms.
hydrogen, and then you go to literally like a gas station. You'd fill your car with the hydrogen.
Now, it's just so.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
or you want to
no,
use
that's
water
exactly
in the car?
that's
Okay.
exactly it. And now people do say you can use water in the car, but the problem is you still have to get that energy from somewhere to perform that.
Energy's not free.
Yeah, so this is where like gasoline and like vapor fumes that burn are very nice for making an engine work.
Yeah.
Because once you get the engine going, it can supply all the energy it needs for supplying that gas into the engine. And
this is something that people won't really say
Yeah.
out loud in this climate, that the internal combustion engine with fossil fuels is actually pretty damn good.
Yeah, and it could be better.
I mean, it's
hands
really
down.
hard to beat it. It's
But
like if it was easy to
it's
beat it, we
very
would
hard to
have
beat
it
it.
already. With all these alternatives, I mean, even with electric vehicles, they've just recently come into prominence, and they've been working on for what?
Yeah, it'd be really
30 years.
hydrogen things like hydrogen engines or in fuel cells would something I should really do way more research on, because I am still not certain where they're getting that energy from. But if they're just charging their cars at home, the people that have made these fuel cells, and they use a battery to convert that water into hydrogen.
Just like start the process.
To start the process,
and then you
it's
would be able to like do a parasitic load and
but
it.
then it's like an EV hydrogen fuel cell, because you still need the electricity. It's just the electricity isn't powering the motor.
Well, you probably so you need electricity to start it, like a starter motor, right?
Yeah.
But you need a small amount of electricity to start it, and then once the process is completing and your motor is then spinning, then it could provide any type of recharging that you would need. So you just need like a kickstart. You wouldn't need to be constantly fueling it off of the lithium-ion batteries or nickel cadmium or whatever conventional you want. So yeah, you're right. It would need some sort of battery to kickstart it, the process, and I don't know what that load
God
would be.
forbid if a hydrogen engine still uses an alternator to charge a battery that starts the electrolysis process. God forbid that thing dies on you.
It's just like your starter motor dying.
Yeah, I guess so.
But yeah,
Maybe
anyway,
it could be exactly the same as a car, as a normal combustion engine. Maybe they, because they are designing them, they're going to start selling those cars anyways. If they're more efficient, which I hope they are.
Okay, so like at the end of the video, I'm not sure you got all the way through to the end, but they were mentioning that this ammonium, when they were burning it, it's hard to get the process started because it doesn't burn as well. So what they were doing is they're combining the ammonia, the NH3, with some hydrocarbons to like kind of like boost up the octane, so it could actually burn a lot better.
Okay.
But it did still cut down on the emissions by like 90%.
Wow.
So the emissions got cut down by 90%. The power, they said, was like 215 horsepower, something like that. So maybe not extremely high power, but comparable. Really cut down on the emissions. But they didn't mention what the bad parts were. Of course, none of these videos do. They say like, look at this thing, it's so amazing, and you'll never be able to figure out what the downsides are. Especially because the Chinese government is sponsoring it. So it's a joint venture with Toyota and another unnamed participant. But it's actually the Chinese state-owned car company that's working on this ammonia engine. So they don't have the greatest track record for being transparent and upfront about everything that they're doing. So they'll probably just tell you all the good stuff, and they won't tell you about the bad stuff.
Yeah. Honestly, it feels like if you can get that working, it's far less toxic than having lithium-ion batteries that you just have to dispose of and sit in a landfill then.
Right, yeah, the cobalt and the nickel and the cadmium and all that stuff, that's bad mamma jamma.
Yeah, we can mine iron to make steel all day, but fuck.
Yeah, and those mines, it's basically you're just offloading the pollution.
Yeah.
So like what we have right now is a bad situation because the pollution literally comes out of the tailpipe of our cars. But the next solution is basically, let's put all the pollution in places where we're never going to see it, and they have to deal with it, and we can feel great about us, with nothing coming out the back of our cars, but we don't have to ever look at the coal factory. We don't have to look at the mine in the Republic of Congo or anything like that.
Yeah.
So this seems like almost too good to be true, and I've heard it like way too many times before. All these different engines that get invented, and the Wankel engine's coming back,
the
and
Wankel engine.
Yeah, the Mazda rotating RX.
Oh, the rotary engine.
Yeah, so
loves that. That's so cool to me.
It's a cool engine, but the apex seals are a problem.
Oh, okay.
So someone reinvented it with the apex seals are not a problem anymore. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, everyone's going to do that. It's like, no. I guess people just don't care about that anymore.
No, but that's still supposed to be a fast car. Like the rotary engine is supposed to work very well.
Oh yeah, the rotary. I've heard that. I just heard through the grapevine that it can exceed RPMs as much as you want. So you can redline it 6,000, 7,000 RPM.
Oh, it doesn't risk damping it too much?
It's cool. It's fine.
Okay.
But I haven't personally tested it, and I haven't really researched it in depth. Just kind of like a happenstance type of thing.
Okay.
So, they're nice, except when the apex seals go bad, then they're
for
trash.
the older ones. Yeah. Weren't they supposed to bring back a new one? I thought they already did. Oh, you're at 4%.
Uh-oh, what did John say?
He said, I love that you know that about the rotary engine, Nick. LOL.
Yeah, I did a lot of research on engines in 2009. I researched engines that ran on compressed air. I researched engines that were external combustion engines, Stirling cycle engines. Obviously the glow plug diesels versus
still
the
my
spark plug.
favorite, a steam engine.
Right.
Because of how dangerous they are.
Oh yeah.
If you don't know what you're doing, you're dead. Those things blew up.
Right.
People died. They still put them on the roads. Brilliant.
Hell yeah. I actually did design an engine one time.
How'd that go?
It was pretty awesome. It was an external combustion engine.
And how'd that work?
Actually, we had a contract with Honda to. At first they wanted us to put our system on, to power all the ancillary units. Mm-hmm. So the heating and cooling, the radio, all that different stuff. And so we did all of our calculations and said, this is what we can offer you. And they said, all right, what if you just did the entire engine for the car? Like, oh, okay. So we came out and designed the whole thing, optimized everything. So we had the external combustion, so acceleration was a problem.
Yeah.
Because when you press the accelerator on internal combustion, there's an explosion that happens inside your cylinder, and that literally pushes it, and you get immediate power. Yeah. Whereas the external combustion, it's literally a boiler that there's a flame around the boiler, and it expands the working fluid inside, but it's not instantaneous.
Okay.
Yeah, because something like pressure can propagate at the speed of sound, which is the fast thing that you like with your engine. But temperature, it takes some time to kind of get the process going. So you'd be sitting at a red light and you press the accelerator, and maybe nothing would happen for a second or two, and then maybe you kind of slowly lurch forward or something like that.
All right.
Although we did have a turbo expander in there, so that thing was. Oh, bye.